Hi everyone, this is Kumar Anurag and I have secured rank 48 this year in civil service examination. Uh, my optional was economics and I'm currently undergoing training for Indian Economic Services. Uh, I had also appeared last year for the civil service examination and in which I had a rank of 677. And one thing that I would like to be talking about in this video is about my economics optional and how it really has turned out to be the strongest pillar in my UPSC civil service performance. Last year I had a score of 307 in economics, which in my knowledge is considerably the highest, and this year I have 314, and I was able to improve upon my performance from last year, and supposedly it's highest or one of the highest. So when we talk about economics as an optional, one of the major issue with this particular optional is that it's difficult and not everybody takes it. It is generally the people who already have some economics background or are from engineering background and they have found interest in economics and they take it. Otherwise, the syllabus is indeed very vast. The questions are difficult and the scores are not as magnanimous as what you get in the mathematics or other form of other papers which are as objective as economics is. And especially these days when you have the other options such as anthropology with very limited syllabus but potential of giving you a lot more marks than what economics can give, it becomes challenging to choose the optional. But in case if you have a strong foundation in economics, you're from the economics background, or if you have really genuine interest in economics and you can really given the amount of the preparation this subject requires, you can go ahead with taking economics as an optional. As in my case, you see in both the attempts I've had 300 plus in economics, and it had played a major role in me getting the particular rank that I have this year. So now I'll be talking about the basic approach towards this particular optional. So definitely it has economics paper 1 and economics paper 2, and it's economics paper 1 usually that people are really scared of in terms of the question that is being asked, the syllabus that is needed to be covered. And economics 2 generally overlaps with your GS3 economics, and the Indian economics part, it's still considerably lighter in comparison to your economics 1. But the approach for me was simple, that I had to get 300 and plus, and for that I had a target of 150 in both the papers. And also this particular optional requires a dedicated preparation of at least 5 to 6 months, and having a dedicated preparation of 5 to 6 months require that you start the preparation as early as you can, and then you do not wait for the prelims to get over and to begin only after your prelims. You need to have at least one general reading done before your prelims. So the approach is simple, that you need to target 150 plus in both the papers, and you need to start way early in order to really excel in this particular optional paper. Now I'll be talking about the strategies in terms of how to prepare for both the paper 1 and paper 2 and how to attempt the particular answers in the examination hall. Now when we talk about how to prepare and the strategy, one of the most important thing is the note making and consolidating the materials. Now when you look at the basic books and readings, which I'll upload it in my blog, and the link will be given in the description below, where I'll be uploading my notes. So, and general book list is easily available for everyone. So you'll see the thickness of the book is like micro for when you have HL Ahuja for both micro as well as macro, or you read the Freud for macro. You see these books are very bulky and it's impossible to revise them along with the GS and the essay before the examination. So the key aspect of your preparation should be to prepare the notes and summarize them in your own words. I'll be uploading my own notes, which you can take a clue from, but it has to be in your own words and you need to summarize them, and you need to prepare from them. So making notes and consolidating them is one major key factor. For example, in microeconomics, if you have the market theory and you're trying to read monopoly, then you need to have 8 to 10 page notes prepared from monopoly from HL Ahuja book. So for example, if you have to prepare the notes on monopoly from HL Ahuja, now that's a bulky chapters, so but you prepare the entire monopoly in around 8 to 10 pages by consolidating the graphs and some of the key points, and you need to have that 8 to 10 pages for Monopoly. You can look at my notes, which you can go through after following the link, and that should be the key. That is, prepare your own notes and consolidate the material for paper 1. Next, coming to the book list, it's easily available, and which you can also get it in my blog, where I'll be discussing the precise book list for each and every topic. But it's generally the same. That is, you go for Ahuja for microeconomics, Freund for macro, similarly Salvatore for international eco, and Jingan for growth and development. It's more than that. It's beyond just the book list. It's all about how you prepare the notes out of it, revise them, and then put it on the paper. That makes all the difference in the examination. Now, to go about the preparation is that, again, the preparation for economics would be in different phases. During the initial phase, you just give a general reading of the book. That is, you read your micro, you read your macro, try to understand the concepts, and once you're done with the general reading, and should be probably much before the prelims, once you're done with your general reading, then when the next time you go for it, you start preparing notes, and that time you also start solving the past year questions, start looking at the past year questions, so you will know exactly the topics from which UPSC is generally asking the question. For example, if you're doing growth and development, you'll find that from the knife edge of Harrod-Domer model, UPSC generally asks a lot of questions. So when you're preparing the notes for Harrod-Domer, give specific importance to the knife edge concept and the related concepts. So this is your second phase, when you start making notes, doing the topics, look at the past years and see from where the question has been asked. And now, following it up, the most important thing for the economics preparation is past year questions. You will see the questions get repeated very often. There are certain topics which has become UPSC's favorite, for example, be it in terms of the monopolistic competition, or the excess capacity in monopolistic competition, or the knife edge, or the Louis model. They usually get repeated, and that's where the past year comes in very, very handy. Try to solve and go through the past year questions for as longer duration as you can. If you can get there's a book available in the market from where the past year questions are available since 1995 probably. So you do them. If you do not find time to solve all, at least read through them, that if the question comes in the examination hall, whether you have the content to write the answer or not. So past year questions is the most important thing. And you can also go for answer writing practices. I had taken a test series in Bliss Point of Ravindra sir, where I had attempted mocks, and that really helped me in trying to strategize on as to how to attempt the paper in the examination hall, because in economics we usually tend to think that we know the answer, we just have to write the model, but the way to write it, how to fit it into the precise space, and what are the dimensions and topics is to be covered is also very important. So you can go for a mock test. That will definitely be an add-on. Now next, I'll be focusing on how to attempt the answers in both paper 1 and paper 2, because usually the issue is with the people is that they have studied, they have prepared, but eventually they are not getting the marks. A majority of my friends who have taken economics as the optional, they tend to have somewhere or the other lower marks in comparison to what's required to get them through the cutoff. And the reason majorly also lies in the way you are attempting the answers. So for paper 1, in paper 1, you will note that every question has been asked for a specific purpose, and every question has a specific answer. You need to write that specific answer. If you write anything other than that, you will not be awarded marks. So be very specific when you are writing the answers. For example, if there is a question on HO model, and there is a very particular aspect of HO model on which the question is asked, then you need to answer only that particular aspect. You do not need to write the various assumptions and describe the various assumptions of HO model. You need to be very specific in terms of the question that is being asked. Once you have addressed what is being asked, only then you write the other secondary things that's required in the answer. You can write the assumptions, you can write the diagrams, concepts related to it, but your prime focus in the answer should be what specifically is being asked. You write anything else and you are not going to get the marks. The second point that is needed to be taken into consideration is that try to cover all the basic dimensions and subparts of the answers. Usually the questions will have two aspects of it, and you need to give in both the aspect. and that way cover the dimensions of the question, and just don't write one particular answer. If there are cause and effect, you write the causes and effects and try to explain it is as many dimensions as possible. You'll note that almost all the answers in paper 1 can be written using a diagram or a graph. So that should be your prime agenda. Let us say, for example, me, I have used a graph or a diagram in almost all the answers, rather in all the answers that I attempted in paper 1, because every answers will have some graph or some diagram that represents the answer, and that you need to have it in your answer. And so you also need to try to do the same. And when it comes to whether you will use pen or pencil while drawing the diagram, it really does not matter. I have never used a pencil. I did not have that much amount of time. I used my pen. But the fact is that there should be a diagram, and it should be well indexed and marked on as to it should be well representative of what it says. Ensure that the graphs are labeled well, and the examiner does not find it difficult to really understand what the particular graph tries to say. But the core aspect is that you need to put a diagram or a graph in every answer that is possible. If it's monopoly, try to depict monopoly using graph. If it's about HO model, try to use the graph for HO model. If it's about the Levy model, you use the graph for Levy model, but try to put in the graphs if possible. Next aspect of attempting the question comes in choosing the questions wisely. So the option is one of such papers where you have various options to choose from, and in this case what you need to do is that see where you are more comfortable in. If you have, let's say you have to choose between two questions and there are two 15 markers and at 120 marker, you are not really very confident about the 20 marker, but you know the 15 markers well. And for the other questions, you don't know the 15 markers, but you know the 20 markers well. So in that, and you have to choose between the two. So try to self mark yourself that if you attempt both, what is the marks that you will eventually be getting in this particular question, and what is the total mark you will be eventually getting in this particular question, and whichever is the more, go for that particular question. So at times this makes a lot of importance on as to which particular question that you have chosen, and the marks would differ as much as 10 marks if you compare the two particular questions. Let's say question 3 and question 4, if you would have attempted question 3, you might would have ended up getting 20 out of 50, and if you had attempted question 4, you might end up getting 30 marks. So choose the question very, very wisely wherever you are able to really maximize your score. The next aspect of the answer writing would be that use examples from Indian economy or the world economy as much as you can in your paper 1. That is, for example, if you are writing about a particular, let's say a Levy model, then you can give an example of China's structural transformation. So or any other examples from economic survey, try to quote them so that you can substantiate your theory and the diagrams and the models with some real life economic problems and the real life economic cases. So that's another thing that will help you in strengthening the content of your answer and fetching you more marks. The last aspect of attempting the question in the paper 1 is that the sequence of attempting the questions. So the prime idea that I followed this time was that I attempted the optional first and then attempted the compulsory for section A, and then I went to section B optional, and then I attempted the compulsory questions. The reason I kept the compulsory questions at the end is that I have to attempt it no matter what it is. So you spend your time in thinking which questions are going to attempt among the optionals, and once you are done with that, you have attempted the 15 markers and 20 markers. Even if you have paucity of time, you can really drag through the compulsory question, the 10 markers. So this is what I followed. You can choose the way you want, but this is generally the way that I went through in attempting the paper. I'll be uploading my mock answers, scripts and the notes in my blog, for which the link would be given below. Now I'll be talking about attempting the paper 2 of economics and how to go about it. One of the core aspects of writing the answer is write the answers point wise and cover as many dimensions as possible. For example, if there was a question last year on as to what would be the significance of Sikkim being granted the tag of an organic state, so think of as many dimensions as possible and write down. Obviously the prime importance should be to the economic significance, but it will also have ecological significance, and even in terms of economic significance, what are the various things that you can think of, from trade to industries to MSMEs to its agriculture sector. You have to write them all. When you're writing point wise, try to ensure that you at least write 5 points per topic that is being asked and discussed, the more points the better, but at least 4 to 5 points is the minimum number of points that you're going to write on every topic that you're touching on. The second aspect of improving your marks and improving answers, that give real life examples as much as you can, be it the quotes from economists, the name of economists, the committee reports, or some of the current events that have happened in economy. For example, in economics, it's one of such subjects where there's every day something or the other happening in the news, be it the banking sector or be it the infrastructure. You have to use these examples in your answers. Rather, the core and the prime agenda for your answer to be appear as what the paragraphs of economic survey is. When you read economic survey, they use a lot of examples and cases, and that's what you need to use it in your answers. For example, if you're writing about the banking and you're talking about NPAs, then you need to substantiate it with the Kingfisher Airlines bankruptcy and the willful defaulters. Similarly, if you're talking about corporate governance, you need to write about the the Satyam scandals. So you need to substantiate it with the the real life examples. And not only this, also you can use a paper 1 to substantiate an answer in paper 2. For example, if you are writing about inequality in paper 2, you can very well use the Kuznets curves and the Kuznets theory, and whether India has really empirically been as to what the Kuznets has predicted, or it has been different. So use such models. Again, the Louis model can very much used while describing the structural transformation of India vis-a-vis China. So these are the theories and concepts that you need to use as much as you can in your paper 1. And one of the best place to look at the model answers would be the economic survey. The way they write it, they quote paper, they quote models, they quote facts, and this is what you need to do. Again, I'll be sharing my answer scripts for economics 2 on as to how I've gone and attempted it in my blog, so you can look at these notes from there. But you need to ensure that you are quoting these things and you're not writing simply general points. It needs to appear as an economic answer. Now, when it comes to attempting and the sequencing, again in this paper also I had first attempted the 15 and 20 marker question and then went on to solve the compulsory questions. And when it comes to the reasoning behind it is again that at the end, when there is a paucity of time, and if I have to compromise on an answer, I would rather choose to compromise on a 10 marker rather than compromise on a 15 or a 20 marker paper. There are also a lot of queries with regards to use of flowcharts and diagrams. So yes, use them extensively and use them to cut your space and enrich in the form of presentation and content. If you can put in a flowchart or a diagram, do them. I have tried to put in and incorporate them as much as I can, and it will really help as a mark booster because that helps in cutting down the space, saves time, and also incorporates more points and dimensions than if you just write down the full sentences. So if the diagram and flowchart is possible, you go ahead with it. In the end, I will like to tell you overall, not only for economics optional but also for the entire UPSC preparation, is that towards the end it will get a lot of you'll be under a lot of stress and pressures, and you'll feel like giving up. Just don't give it up. Prepare till the very end, even if it's right in front of your examination classroom center. If you want to study, prepare, just do not give up. And if you're like a GOT fan, be like Arya Stark. Even if the Night King is hanging you by your neck, don't give up and give in the best that you can, and you'll end up being successful. Just if the pressure comes where you have a lot of negativity with you, just keep preparing. Do not compromise on the effort, and you will see you'll meet success in the way you probably would not have imagined. Thank you.